Fucking co-main's on.
And we're live. I just had to surprise D-Mac with it. Co-man's on. Beefy Boys episode 140's on. Back. Welcome here. UFC 291 breakdown. Doing the main card first here for you. I mean, BMF belt, but honestly, it doesn't even matter that if the belt's there or not. It just needs to be Gaethje versus Poirier is all you need to know.
Yes, and I view it very similar. There's a lot of kind of banter and debate. Is the BMF belt gimmicky? Is the
Hell
BMF
yeah, it's
belt
gimmicky, but
pointless?
like whatever.
Definitely gimmicky. I was describing it to my boss at work because he was like, "Yeah, there's like every once in a while the elevated UFC cards, because he's kind of a casual and he has TV on ESPN. So he's like, he brought it up to me. He's like, "Yeah, they're really pushing this one hard. This must be a big one, huh?" And I was like, explaining the BMF belt to him. I was like, "Yeah, it's kind of gimmicky, but." And here's my final like kind of case on it is like my official, and I think it sounds like you mirrored this take. Like it's gimmicky, yes, but like two things can be true at once. Like awesome, also yes, but only for the reason. Luke Thomas used these words. So I'm kind of regurgitating what he's saying. But like the men make the belt doesn't make the men. Like the undisputed belt, the belt makes the man. Like we didn't really respect Volkanovski until he had the belt and defended it. The belt made the man. Now, the BMF belt is not that. Like the BMF belt is the antithesis of that. The men make the belt. The
Yeah.
fact, exactly how you led off this episode. The fact that it was Gaethje and Poirier, the belt works because, and yeah, you can like be generic and say, yeah, those are bad motherfuckers, but like, just everything about it worked, in my opinion. So it's like, can you slap that belt on anyone, or like for those saying it's like, oh, it's the silver medal belt or the I can't win a real belt. Like on paper that argument exists, but then it just removes that part of it as a fan of like, yeah, no, this works. And the proof is in the pudding. It was a big card. People cared about it. It was competing with Spence Crawford. It worked. And now, like, how many times can it work? Who else could it work for? Lineage. These are all fair questions. I'm not saying it's like you can't ask any questions, but I think the like kind of I don't want to cast a negative light on the BMF. It worked for me. I enjoyed it.
Right. So it works for me in the sense of like the two guys fighting for it just need to live up to the expectation in my head of like these are some bad dudes, like just like a down to eat a punch, down to eat one to throw one. Also have crazy starting power, like are bonus worthy, have like good name value. It can't just be no one that's known.
Yes, yes, 1,000%. Because like Fakrdinov is a bad motherfucker, but he doesn't qualify for this. At least not yet.
Right.
But
Or
also
even
you
or
can't
even
go.
Fiziev, but like he's just not. He hasn't have enough tenure in the UFC. Like we gotta keep seeing. You gotta prove it over a long time.
And you can't go opposite end of the spectrum where you're like the Brian Barberenas and Matt Browns of the world, where it's like they're bad motherfuckers, but too long in the tooth, not ranked high enough, not going to main headline a pay per view. So there is like this Goldilocks zone, like I'm a fucking like I'm a non-human biologic that's in
Yeah.
that Goldilocks zone.
Well, and if you
Uh,
actually asked me too, I thought the first BMF title was better on the name value of the two guys fighting. Right, like Masvidal and Diaz clearly are more like name value matchups and like reputation matchups. Right, not really the best in their weight class at the time by any means. These two guys are arguably the best in their weight class next to Islam. So for them to fight for this and also have those like the characteristics to make them BMF contenders, I think it works even better knowing that they're like in the prime of their careers.
yes, that's what made this work exactly. Like I said, that Goldilocks zone, not too old, big enough name, badass enough reputation. Like it really is like this Venn diagram where like multiple circles have to like overlap, and that sweet spot is like guys eligible for the BMF. Yeah, no, and they got the right two guys in there.
Now,
But yeah,
my question is, how does it go from 170 to 155? There's no actual lineage of the belt. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Masvidal was
see,
obviously in the cage to present it to the winner.
I have an answer for you that switching the weight class answered the lineage question. It's like, does it kick the can down the road? Sure, but that's exactly like changing the weight class, kick that can down the road. So where like it doesn't have to necessarily be defended. They can bring it out once every 5 years. if they just keep switching the weight class. I mean, we got like what 10 of those we can do, and it'll get us like 40 years in the future. Like, you know what I'm saying?
If they set it up to kind of get it to a guy's like if a guy's retiring, you know, like that's kind of the ideal for them is that a guy's going to retire with it so that they just get to do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, and you're kind of a made man, right? Which
Right.
is, I think it works, bro. It makes sense to me. Like if you really understand like how the UFC does things. Now, if it was like the PFL tournament style Grand Prix, doesn't make a lot of sense at all. But you can't think of it that way. It's almost just like you're being marked as a made man, kind of like Masvidal was. He made a lot more money after winning that belt than he did before winning that belt, and I think that's kind of what it symbolizes. Also, like it leaves some doors open. Poirier's flirting was fighting at 70 before. Like he's kicked that idea around. So like I mean, you know,
that's true. That's true. Yeah, if Poirier is
open.
to win it, yeah, and like he does go up to 70, then he could bring it with him to 70. That's a good point. Like it doesn't have to stay at his division if a guy can jump weight classes with it, which I think anyone that's going to get the BMF belt, that's going to be a thing. Also, now you have guys like Volk that can come up and get it from featherweight that couldn't have done that at 70. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the roads are ever changing and turning.
It leaves a very like it's an open-ended question, which I think kind of adds to like the mystique of it. Let's not be fucking nerds about this. Let's not fucking be like, who's the next match? Like, fucking gotta enjoy it for what it is. You know, I kind of like the little bit of mystery around it, and yeah, Poirier's a made man. We'll get to it, but
well, yeah,
jerking the curtain here on the main card. Yeah,
I was gonna say let's dive into it because there is a bit of a connection to the BMF belt here by the time this fight's over and we're in the post-fight speech. So
yeah, for sure, man. We got Kevin Holland versus Michael Chiesa, who both of these guys age like screws with my brain. I think of Kevin Holland as being older than 30 just because he's so active, and I don't even know. I don't really know. I don't have a good reason. I forget that like in his prime in that 2020 stretch, he was what, 26, 27 years old. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I thought he was older than that during that stretch. So now here we are 3 years later. I thought he'd be older, but yeah, he's only 30 years older than Chiesa, 35 years old. I mean, I knew he was getting older. I didn't really realize he had hit the 35 mark. But yeah, Chiesa at plus 125, 12th ranked welterweight. Kevin Holland minus 145 favorite. And this is one of those fights where the closer we got to fight time, the more I liked Holland. Earlier in the week and in the group chat, we were kind of debating, and Holland sucks against wrestlers. Chiesa's a wrestler. It's hard to feel that confident in Holland. Exactly the same story that the money line's telling you. But just the closer we got to fucking bell time, I was just like, nah, Holland's got this. I don't know. And that's not hindsight. That was, like I said, like building up to it. As I finally got my fucking Topo Chico cracked, and I, sat down to watch the fights. I was like, all right, I don't know. It was too late to go down and place a bet. I just all week I was in my head about this one, and then I just some late Holland faith came through for me.
So I got to give a quick little shout out here to Kevin Holland, just based on his career in the UFC. Because coming into this, if you count his Contender Series fight, because it is in the UFC banner, this is his 20th fight under the UFC's promotion.
That's so many, and not that long, right? Since 2019,
5 years, since June 4th, 2018. So literally in 5 years, he's put forward 20 fights. That's 4 fights a year, and he's had hand surgeries. I mean, yeah, gotta give it up, man. Now
that's why we love him, man.
Also, the thing,
some top dogs too,
right? And the other thing with that too is that his L's are Thiago Santos, Brendan Allen, Curtis Millender before he was in the UFC.
He lost to Thiago Santos?
Yeah, it was his first fight in the UFC on short notice.
At light heavyweight? Or was?
Mm-hmm. He's just an absolute dog. He's just an absolute dog.
He probably walked in there weighing 182 to fight Thiago Santos.
I mean, he's just an absolute dog. And then, so the Brendan Allen loss, remember, was not good. And then he did have that L streak, Brunson, Vittori, the Dawkins no contest. That was kind of tough. And then he has L's to Hamzat, and then Stephen Thompson whenever he agreed to not take him down, which was like, dog, what are you doing? So yeah,
it's so many of those L's have asterisks. So many of those L's have asterisks next to them.
I know it, and if you look at his L's versus his W's, he has some really good wins in there. Like the
Oh
Fluffy
yeah,
Hernandez TKO in 40 seconds. That's aging great.
aging great. Yep.
The Joaquin Buckley KO aging very well. The
Yep.
Souza KO obviously like got
Yeah,
Jacare at the
that's what.
very end, so it couldn't age worse because it literally pretty much ended Jacare's career right there. That's actually a
Well,
good note.
and that was like the moment that got him over. I thought like that's when he really became like a star.
Right, and he hasn't had a decision win since 2020. So,
Well, we need I need to keep that in the old memory bank for betting purposes. Like Kevin Holland does not go to the distance.
yeah, 4 subs, 4 TKOs. So hard to predict
Wow.
which one it's going to be. But let's get into the breakdown of this fight because we've already talked a lot longer than the fight lasts.
Yeah, man. And so everybody, the narrative of this fight was striker versus grappler. I mean, everybody knew that pretty much if they were able to keep it on the feet, Chiesa didn't stand a chance, and that's essentially what happened. Chiesa was shooting some dog shit takedowns. Kevin Holland was showing some really good
His
takedown
takedown defense
defense in his
was
defense.
nice.
Like on the shots that weren't dog shit were defended, which got Chiesa tired, which made the shots more dog shit that they got easier to defend as the fight went on. Fight only lasted 2 minutes and 39 seconds, so like it unraveled quickly for Chiesa. And at the very end, see, this is where it gets weird because I mean, my eyes must have lied to me because I thought Holland needed him in the head, and then in the post fight, Holland saying that the knee didn't land. I don't really understand that. It looked like it landed.
Looked like you need him right in the face.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if he's just trying to be nice about it, which doesn't sound very Kevin Holland-esque. But yeah, I don't know. Kevin Holland in the post fight said that it didn't quite land. Maybe it just didn't land flush. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe
know
he
really
feels
what he
like
meant
it.
by that.
I mean, he could have felt like it hit on the gloves, right? Like maybe he had him here and he hit saying he hit on the gloves. Hey, if you get like a plum knee, you know what I'm saying? Like you have the plum and you throw the knee, even if you have gloves in front of you, that's still gonna hit.
Yeah, for sure. Which caused, I mean, I guess to Chiesa's credit, it was both a bad shot and like his only like chance of not getting knocked out right there. So like it was a dog shit shot, but he technically made like the right decision to shoot, I guess. Like I don't, you can't hate on it too much. And then but yeah, once again, Kevin Holland sprawled and then just pretty much sprawled right into that Darce and locked it on up. I mean, that's what my untrained eyes saw.
Yeah, no, it was pretty textbook. And honestly, if you look at Chiesa's record, this is hilarious, man. Like if they had prop bets on Chiesa losing by Darce, like specifically the Darce, it would have been the best bet. I think he's lost 5 times in his career by Darce out of his 7 losses.
Did you see the clip that's going around where Chiesa was on DC and RC and they were talking about this?
Yeah,
And
that's literally how I know this. That's
essentially,
literally how I know this.
Like, he literally like anti-Mystic Mac himself. He like fucking Mystic Mac his own Darce L.
Yeah, it's literally how I know that's the case because he got Darced by Luque, he got Darced by Pettis, he got Darced by Kevin Lee, and then I believe he got Darced by Masvidal. All 4 of his subs are Darces, and it's like
And a couple of those are Darce's to strikers too. Like the Masvidal one is tough. Like,
yeah,
getting Darced by Masvidal is tough. I'm sorry.
hell, the Luque one's like in
Well,
first
at
round
least
3
Luque
minutes.
is Brazilian. At least Luque is Brazilian.
You know what I will say too is like as a guy that's a wrestler that eats a lot of shots, getting Darced kind of adds up, right? Like,
oh, it makes sense. Yeah, it's like 1 + 1 = Darce.
like you eating this shot to the mouth and falling into a shot is gonna equal this Darce landing, which is pretty much what happened. Like he got beat up, man. Like Kevin Holland's only credited here with 9 significant strikes landing. They're fucking heavy 9.
Yeah, I was about to say so much damage was done with those 9. Like 3 of those 9 like almost finished.
Chiesa was 0 for 5 on takedown attempts in 2 minutes and 39 seconds. I mean, just a dog after a bone that was never getting it.
I mean, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. I think it's like a fair, like I guess a quote unquote hot take. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts. Like I thought Chiesa looked more washed than Tony Ferguson.
Like, yeah, we're about to get to that next for sure. But like Chiesa looked like he didn't want to be there.
No, Chiesa looked like he likes wearing a suit and putting on makeup and talking into a microphone. Good on you. You know, like you don't got to fight anymore, dog. Like,
right. Like you're good. You have it set. Like you don't need to do this. Like you can just commentate and do that for the next 20 years.
like Dana talks about it all the time. Like this is like an opportunity, not necessarily like a day job. Like this is how you
Yeah.
like get to the next level. Like Connor made his money with whiskey. Dustin Poirier is making his money off hot sauce. Like very like the guys don't get like uber rich like fighting. Like yeah, you can't fight till you're 60. You can talk be a sportscaster until you're 60. You know what I mean? Like yeah, I don't know. I just like it sounds like mean. Like, I'm not trying to be mean spirited. Like you fucking accomplished the task of like leveling up your life. Like you know, you're probably not going to accomplish the task of becoming champion. It's not looking hot at all.
No,
I think
yeah,
this was like a 2 year layoff. So he's fought twice in 24 months. I think he's lost twice in
and
24 months.
he had a back surgery in there is the reason he had to take so much time off, and it's like, man, that's any kind of back surgery is usually pretty major, so
And
probably a
also,
good
like I
time to
saw
hang it up.
talk about mean spirit. This is probably as mean spirited as I'll get. And it's not really like that. I'm not saying it. The internet's saying it. Like I fucking like. But seriously, have you ever met like a Michael Chiesa fan? Like somebody that's just like
No,
really into Chiesa. Like I saw that tweet and it was kind of mean spirited. But I was like I was just like took it literally like at face value. And I was like, no, like I literally have it. Like I'm not like I don't get juiced to watch Michael Chiesa fight. And
even
thank God he was fighting Kevin Holland.
well, and it's like he came off like a season of Ultimate Fighter that I couldn't even tell you who else is on it. Season 15 though isn't like 15 is still a respectable time in like Tufts history as far as like the
Yeah.
fighters that were coming out of there and stuff, you know, and like the fighters that were
Well, and
coaches.
he's accomplished a lot in his career. You know, he has some good wins. You know, he's gotten some high rankings. Like, you know, it's like it's not a career to sneeze at, and like that's why like hanging it up, man. I mean, he's kind of a made man. I mean, he's got the blessing of Dana, and he works for ESPN. Like, I don't know, dog. Like, I just you don't got to keep trotting it out there. You know, I guess that we can keep it pushing, but that's just kind of.
Well,
And then, oh no, we
what's
can't
next
keep
for
it
Kevin
pushing.
Lee or Kevin Holland? Because
Oh God damn it!
he's an
Where does
idiot.
Kevin Lee fit into all this? Is that what you're
No,
asking
no,
me?
no, no, Kevin. No, yeah, God, no, Kevin Holland. What's next for Kevin Holland? He's an idiot. He looks so good at 170. It's his actual weight class. You can tell. His length is there. His power is undeniable at the weight class because it was rocking Chiesa.
The takedown defense.
The takedown defense is there because the guys aren't as big and as strong. Now, granted, Chiesa is not the biggest welterweight, but still, it's like, Kevin Holland, this is where you need to be, dog. And he's like, well, the BMF title isn't available at 170, so might as well take me back to 185.
I hope that was just like a cool thing to say.
Like, what a cool
You know
quote.
what I mean?
Yeah, like I like to
But I hope
I like
it's
to
not being
fight, eat
literal.
steaks, have sex, and make weight. Like that was
Yeah,
a hilarious
no, like,
statement.
it is, but like also like he only cuts like 12 pounds to make 170. We're not asking
Yeah.
him to do the Pareto cut. He
Right, I'm
walks
not
around
asking
like
you to hurt yourself,
182.
dog. Like, I'm not even asking you to really have to grind it out like that. Like, just watch your diet for 10 days and get into a sauna
10
for 2
days.
days.
Literally, and you're on weight. You know, the reason why it's so frustrating is because we've been waiting for Kevin Holland to like gain traction. He worked his way up middleweight and then couldn't gain traction. This was the fight that gained him traction. He debatably retired Chiesa.
And he got
Chiesa
number
was ranked
12's ranking.
12. Exactly. So that positions you for top 10 next. Which I mean, top 10 or welterweight.
Well-
There's a ton of names, a ton of fights that get him on the main card.
Well, and Holland has name
Um,
value, so he kind of gets to call out like the upper end of the class of the weight. Like, so like, I mean, he's not going to run it back with Wonder Boy, obviously, but like, I mean, Jeff Neal,
he could get the
Rachmanov?
Gilbert Burns fight. He could get the Gilbert Burns fight.
Oh yeah, Burns Holland.
And that fight would be
fun.
awesome. That'd be so good. It'd be awesome. They're very similar fighters in a way, even though they're built totally opposite. Like they fight kind of similar.
See, but I could also see the UFC being just absolute dicks and giving Sean Brady a
Hey,
shot. At
from what I just saw, that's a good fight.
Okay,
from what I
well,
just
wait,
saw-
time out. What about Jack Della against Kevin
Yeah,
Holland?
that's all. Like, there's so many awesome fights. You know, the one thing all the fights we just listed have in common, they're all on main cards and pay-per-views. Like, there's big fights for him at 70. Seriously. So what's he gonna? And then like, let's juxtapose middleweight. What's he gonna go fight?
Ooh.
Jack Hermanson or Roman
Ooh.
Dolidze? Like, what's he gonna do at middleweight?
You know what? He should get
Like-
the winner of Ian Gary and Jeff Neal, because either way, that's a super fun fight. Any of the three of them.
All the welterweights are better fights. I don't want to see him fight anybody at middleweight. I'll say him and Sean Strickland would be lit. That would be like epic. Like they're like very similar guys.
Have you seen Strickland on Twitter though? Like apparently the UFC is like in his ear, like Sean, please take this fight. We need you to save this card, and he's like, just pay me a lot of money. He keeps saying it. He's like, just pay me my number, and like I'll do it.
I think he'll get it. I think he'll get it.
Honestly, I mean, yeah.
There's nobody else for Izzy to fight.
If they go to Australia and don't have Izzy or Volk available to fight, they fucked up. That's the whole point.
And like,
that's the whole point. I mean,
you could trot Cannonier out there, but that's mid as fuck. That fight sucked the first time. Nobody wants to see it. Duplessis, kind of pussyfooting around. And we're going to go all the way to 9 for Dolidze? You're going to throw Dolidze in there? He'll say yes, but like, Brendan Allen? Like, what are you going to do? You got to have Strickland. Like, Strickland has him by the balls. He's low-key being kind of a smart businessman here.
No, yeah, he definitely does because they signed Costa not too far out to where neither of those guys had a shot at it.
How much money is he asking for? An extra $100,000? Sean Strickland, like he said, he's a white trash piece of shit. He's asking for like probably 75 extra grand. He's not asking for $1 million. There's no way. He wants to buy him and like give him a Ford Raptor. He'll be on the first flight to Sydney, first thing smoking.
Even if he's asking for $250,000, you make that back by getting Izzy on that card. If you don't have Izzy on that card, you ain't selling shit.
They sell that much hot dogs probably at the stadium, like
ticket values from just having Izzy on the card to fight anyone, but Strickland's the only guy you got. Like, fucking just pay Strickland. Simple. It's easy,
exactly.
Man.
Like, how much money are you going to lose by booking like Dolidze or somebody like that or Brendan Allen? You're going to lose more than $250,000.
Oh yeah,
pay-per-view.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like it's worth
Strickland has him by the balls. I think personally, but I want to see that fight. But yeah, man, like I want Kevin Hall to stay at 70. Really, final thought there. Rap putting a bow on it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But yeah, we can keep it pushing to old Tony Ferguson and Bobby King Green, which I know you're on Bobby Green all week. Smart take because Tony Ferguson, man. I mean, coming into this fight. I'm still slightly on this take, but I'm not super bullish on it as much as I was. But Tony is washed. Now it's not to the level I really thought it was, but like he's still washed.
I'm gonna introduce this fight, and then I want to debate. I want to have like the fucking Tony Wash conversation more than I want to break down X's and O's here. So like we got Tony Ferguson on a 5-fight skid. Plus 295 at 39 years old, taking on Bobby King Green, minus 360 favorite. I think that's the biggest favorite Bobby Green's ever been. Like somebody stat that in the comment section because I don't remember a time where Bobby Green being in the minus 300s. And obviously this fight is taking place in the lightweight division. And all week with the debate, the conversation, and it really hasn't quit. If anything, it's amplified. Is how washed is Tony Ferguson? And you hear some people saying, not that washed, he's fought killers. Fair point. But it's not the 5 L's that make him washed. It's just like the eye test.
Yeah,
like,
it's
honestly,
the eye test. I agree. Because the name test is like crazy. Like he's lost
to
Gaethje,
who doesn't
Oliveira,
lose to Charlie Olives?
Beneil Dariush.
Who doesn't lose to those guys?
Nate Diaz is a little tough.
That was a bad one. Like fat
last fight. That was a good fight as well. If you remember, it was a super competitive fight.
But I think that.
But that's not a good thing.
Kind of washed too.
Right.
So
that's I agree with you. I'm just
like if Tony wasn't washed, that fight's not good. Like
right.
Prime Tony runs through that version of Nate. So like it's yeah. I think it's a kind of a counter argument.
Essentially, Tony's just been giving his name value up in the fights they've been having him take, and he's just such a. I don't know. I would say dog, but I think he's just an idiot at this point for it, man.
Well, how he talked, yeah. I mean, I'll be real. I think this is kind of like MMA blasphemy. Like, I'm not a Tony Ferguson guy. I've always found him kind of cringe. Like, no, I'm not talking about. I'm talking like him, like his brand. Obviously, in the cage, exciting fighter, dynamic, brought some new things to the sport. I just like his interviews and like his like brand and like the whole champ shit only. Like, I've never really. I don't know, man. It just never did it for me as like far as like, oh, this is like I fuck with this. I find this. I've always found it kind of cringe, and that's like, I guess not going all the way back to his prime, but going back to like even like the start of the fall, like even like the Justin Gaethje like build up to that fight, like his brand. just never really like. I'm not the target audience for it. I guess like I like guys like Kevin Holland, like guys that I don't know. He just seems not that like cool to me. Like I don't
What's
know.
well, I think of like the problem I have with Tony Ferguson is that like yes, Henry Cejudo is the king of cringe, but he's actually trying to do that like it's a character. Tony Ferguson is not playing a character; he is being himself, and himself is so cringy, man.
Thank you. I'm
Like
glad you
it's,
said that because I
but
feel like
it's
it's like
not like
MMA
a,
blasphemy.
but it's not
Everybody
like
talks
a,
about it in this.
it's not like a persona, right? Like it's not like the schmo. Like he's not like putting on like a character for us or Colby even for us to, like believe in and hate. It's like that's I think really what he believes and who he is. Like he's being genuine, and genuine him is so cringeworthy.
I agree, bro. I'm glad I'm not like alone on that take because I
Like,
felt
bro,
kind of nervous putting that take out there, but I
there
really
was
feel it.
there was a
Like,
press conference once where he wore like pretty much like a tuxedo without the jacket, so like the button up vest. He had shades on, and then he wore like weightlifting gloves and had a baseball.
yeah, I remember. I know that picture. It's
Like
very cringe.
bro, what are you doing? And they asked him, what do you have the baseball for? And he said, I'm here to throw strikes. Like, what?
So bad. Yeah, no, and
What?
then so I mean, this is kind of turning into like a roast, but like seriously, I know I just wanted to get that take out there. Everybody, and I'm glad a lot of people out there are saying nice things about Tony Ferguson. Like that's better. If we had a million people saying this shit, it would be kind of tough to watch. But that being said, because nobody's saying it, I feel kind of the need to say it. And also, like, so what I come down to is like on this show you'll hear us talk about like guys being a plus athlete, right? Like, oh, his technique's not all the way there, but that guy's a plus athlete. Tony Ferguson, when I say washed, like he like stumbles around the octagon, like he can't even like
Doesn't
really
it doesn't it look like he's fighting underwater? Like he can't like fully
that,
like
or
catch his own balance.
or like he's like really hammered. Like have you ever seen like a really drunk guy fight?
Yeah.
Well, you've been a really drunk guy fighting, but I but no, like that's what like he looks like a wasted like uncle, like trying to fucking fight at the
Well,
barbecue.
like
Like
the head
seriously,
movements are over exaggerated, and he'll stop at the end of the head movement and like look at you and like frame like to see if he tricked you, and it's like, bro, keep moving. Like obviously you didn't trick
you
me.
did it.
Yeah,
Yeah, did it.
like that shit was slow and bobbing. Like I watched you. What do you do? It's like a kid that like covers their face and is like, you can't see me. It's like, okay. It's like Tony Ferguson's head movement. Like I guess that's head movement.
Just the eye test, just the movement is so washed, like the
Yeah, it's
athleticism.
so
Like
bad.
I'm not saying he doesn't like have timing on his punches and
He still has
knows some
power.
jujitsu moves. Still, he still has some power. Like that's not what I mean by washed. I mean like the body is failing you.
Well, it's
Like
unfortunate too because his style requires a lot of explosive athleticism because like his whole style was forged on like getting in these weird spots and hitting odd angles and like explosive shots. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like those step in elbows that are like up the
there's
center.
kind of an athleticism based skill set.
It's like
Exactly.
athletic and explosive and like off the beaten path of what's normal because you're so explosive and athletic you can get away with it. And now he's not, so he can't do those moves.
It's NBA Blake Griffin.
Like, did you
when
see
Blake Griffin started had to shoot fadeaways? Like he was a guy that would dunk from the free throw line. When Blake Griffin started shooting like back to the basket fadeaways, you knew it was over.
exactly when they have to rely on purely technique? It's pretty much over because their style relied so much on the blended athleticism with their technique.
I actually like the Tony Ferguson Blake Griffin. So I'm kind of shining my own wheels here.
No,
like,
it was oddly accurate. It was oddly accurate.
Yeah, like flashy, but when the wheels fell off, the wheels fell off. Kind of cringe. Like I have just a lot of crossover.
Had problems with the women in his life that had kids with.
Oh Jesus!
That was a tough shot at Tony's life. Oh,
and Bobby Green's kind of the opposite, bro. He's aging like fine wine. Like his style translates. His hand speed's there.
He's also insane, and like he's not cringy. He's hilarious.
He's authentic.
They're both authentic, but one sucks and one's awesome.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'll be real. Bobby Green in the ski mask and like the bulletproof vest, a little bit cringe, but also a little bit.
No, it's like kind of exactly how I see his brain working. Like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go wear this shit and show Tony. I'm gonna go show Tony today. Like I can see him talking to himself about it. Like it's hilarious to me.
Yeah, no, Bobby Green's. You're right. his brand resonates a lot more with me than Tony Ferguson's brand. I'll put it that way. Man, I guess we'll dive into the X's and O's here. Quite frankly, round one was a banger, and there
Um,
is like an argument for like giving Tony the first round.
so
I
no
did it,
no
but
judge has the same scorecard here through 2 rounds. Obviously, they don't score that third, even though we could make an argument to score the third if you wanted to. But yeah, so no
no,
judge
no,
has
I
the same
feel.
scorecard.
I already tipped my hand. I went green because Tony Ferguson gets the knockdown. Which, if you give him the round off the knockdown, like you're not a crazy person, like fair play. But it was kind of like Bobby Green won like the other 4.5 minutes of
Yeah.
that fight. Like, you know what I'm
So
saying?
so watching it live, no volume and like kind of halfway being able to pay attention. I liked it for Tony with the knockdown. Now rewatching it and like paying a lot of attention with sound, yeah, I think Bobby just did a lot more work, man. I think the strike numbers were like 30 to 14, so he almost doubled them up in strikes. And it's like, yeah, Tony did come over the top and land that nice right straight that sat Bobby down, but Bobby popped back up quick and put in a lot of work. That heavy body kick he landed, like with a minute to go in the round, and then the combination that he hit Tony with to end the round was also like
Seeing
a stinging combination.
seeing Bobby utilize the kicks more was pretty fucking sweet.
It
He's
was
typically a
nice.
boxing heavy guy. Like, he's still getting better. Like I said, he's kind of like the anti-watch. He's getting older, but he's
Bro,
not getting worse.
also Tony doesn't check kicks and he just eats body kicks and like obviously Michael Chandler front kicked him in the face. We didn't even talk about that being his other loss in this 5L streak he's on, but like
The worst one.
yeah, for the last one. Yeah, so then one judge goes Ferguson here, two judges go Bobby Green. I think that's a fair illustration of it.
I think Bobby Green's step in the takedown was a bad look too, as Tony builds himself as the wrestler.
100%. 100%.
Oh,
Now, in
and
round
then
two, I
yeah,
thought Bobby Green opened it up by a much bigger margin. I thought it was still 10-9. I didn't go quite 10-8.
no, oh yeah, I didn't even really consider it 10-8. The ground and pound for Bobby Green was epic because everybody was like the announcers, his own coaches, everybody was like, Bobby Green can't hang out in Tony Ferguson's guard. Like, he's winning on the feet. Why is he down here like on? But he got some hella good ground and pound off, just huge. He almost fought like a heavyweight, like the big Donkey Kong
Yeah.
hammer fist. And then he avoided all subs. He had good technique, like good sub defense, good top control. And he said, "Fuck, I'm better than y'all fucking think I am." Like, DC, Rogan, his own coaches were screaming from the corner, "Stand up!" He fucking shoved it and all but rubbed their noses in it. He fucking did great. Tony's guard beat the dog shit out of him. Um, you're right. Tony was able to move enough, scramble enough, throw up enough things to where, yeah, I kept it 10-8 because it wasn't like at no point did I really think it should have been stopped or anything like that. But yeah, did any judge give round two to Tony? You said the wild scorecards.
No, so no judge gave any rounds to, or no judge gave round two to Tony, but one judge did give 10-8 to Bobby Green there.
Wow. I mean, not crazy. My brain didn't go there, but I mean, he did win probably 5 out of 5 minutes of that round, so dominance, duration, damage, like by the book. You could build the argument for it. It just didn't really jump off the screen as a 10-8. But
So
let's get to this third round.
So going into round three, by the way, just to illustrate it, one judge has it 20-17 for Green, one judge has it 20-18 for Green, and one judge has it tied up 19-19. So effectively, Tony's going to need to get a finish here to win this fight, or he could somehow get a split decision loss. If he fought a good
Yeah,
third round here.
yeah, the 1919 is not that wild though. The knockdown,
I know,
it's
yeah, it's
like,
crazy because really the fight, if
yeah,
you think about it as the fight as a whole, the 14 minutes and 54 seconds that it is, because there is a finish here, but I mean with 6 seconds to go, we can essentially talk about how the round could have been scored, which is
yeah,
a
yeah.
very clear 10-9 Bobby Green.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like, also, man, it was Tony Ferguson. You could argue kind of egate himself, but not really. He wasn't going to win this fight on the feet, even though he had his most success on the feet in the fight. It's a weird one to analyze. Tony's only moment of success came on the feet, but everybody, and seemingly including Tony, knew that he wasn't going to win this fight on the feet. That's why he was doing like Imanari rolls and shit. And he in the third, like, isn't that weird though? His only success came on the feet, but it was just like
It felt like he was trying to catch him by surprise there at the end, like he started getting more and more desperate with it.
that classic Tony Ferguson like gimmicky, like I'm gonna hit the buttons and do my special move.
Yeah,
Like
Bobby
it's
Green said he
like
expected it, practiced for it. You could tell he stopped the roll, stayed on the outside like he talked about, kept the one arm out, and just his head in so he couldn't get subbed that way, and then essentially moved to arm triangle, and then was able to go completely from. He was in half guard and stepped completely opposite side, which was impressive to me.
That was
well.
impressive. That was like Bobby Green's grappling looked great.
And then
very
Tony,
similar to how Kevin Holland's looked great.
Tony is, of course, a thug for not tapping. He doesn't tap. Like, very clear.
It's very
clear in his career. He is not going to tap. So
my wife was watching this one with me, and like Tony's just like kicking and flailing. She was like, "Oh my God, isn't he going to tap?" And I was like, "Well, everybody not named Tony Ferguson would tap, so you're not wrong."
Right? Yeah.
I literally acted like it was like, "No, he doesn't tap." Like I've watched this man's elbow bend the wrong way. Like he just won't tap.
Well, bro, I wonder too. Like whenever he's doing that crazy like bucking, do you think that puts him out faster? And if it puts him out faster, like, is it 5 seconds faster? Because if he can last 5 more seconds, he can at least get to the scorecard. Granted, he's still going to lose, but
yeah, I don't know, man. I think that was more like fight or flight instinct, like go out on your shield. Like, I don't think there was too much like jiu-jitsu class technique going on there. You know, I think that was kind of just like actual like visceral like fight or flight, like actual like
there's no there, yeah, like I'm not getting any more air to my brain. Like I need to start fighting to get this air.
Yeah, like I think that's what that was, honestly. Like maybe I'm wrong, but like I don't think he knew how much time was left in that moment. I think he was just on some Tony Ferguson, like I'm not gonna tap type shit. So yeah. You know what might be the pass the torch for that? Apparently it's Makayev. It's gonna be the new I don't tap guy.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. Makayev also we'll see how that affects his career, because if that's any indication, it's not a good road to really want a champion.
Fair. Also, we forgot to mention that Kevin Holland gets a performance of the night bonus. Bobby Green gets a performance of the night bonus with his 3rd round arm triangle. First submission for Bobby Green since his UFC debut 10 years ago.
I know, crazy. Plus 800, plus 900 on the odds. Very wild.
So, I mean, if anything tells you that Tony's washed, like a former like jiu-jitsu wrestler, grappler guy, getting subbed by a guy who doesn't sub anybody. It has like I don't even know if does Bobby Green have a jiu-jitsu belt. Like I think he just trains like MMA grappling. Like,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think he does gi. Yeah, it's a great point.
Like, so I mean, I think this actually is like a more damning finish than if he would have just got sparked.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Like getting submitted by Bobby Green is. And I'm a Bobby Green fan. I love watching Bobby Green's boxing.
And the amount of damage that Tony did take was starting to add up. Like over the 15 minutes, or over the 14 and a half minutes, essentially. Like Tony, Tony didn't take his gloves off, didn't retire. I think we see him on UFC roster watch getting cut.
Me too, because this was the last fight on his contract.
Yeah, six fights in a row that you lost. Like, man. And like Bobby Green was kind of a get back fight. You know what I'm saying? As far as like who he had fought.
It was the easiest as it was gonna get. It wasn't gonna get any easier.
Yeah, because who else were gonna have you fight?
Like they're gonna find some killer for him. You know what I mean? Like which Bobby Green's a killer, but you get what I'm saying. He's an older guy, similar age, like not ranked. Like it wasn't gonna get any easier. Yeah, but great win for Bobby Green. $50K for him, big win. Got that. I'm a big Bobby Green fan. There's a lot of fights that you could do. I think they should reward Bobby Green with the Patty fight. Like I know Matt Frivola wants it, and Drew Doe, or a lot of guys want it, but to me, the Bobby Green Patty matchup would make some level of sense.
I agree entirely. I think it's super fun. Although I don't know how well it sells, because I don't know if Bobby Green talks shit the right way. I disagree.
Oh no, I think that sells, bro. I don't
know if he's going to understand the insults Patty's going to say to him. Is almost what I guess I'm like.
Doesn't need to. He needs to show up looking cool as fuck, looking like he's in a music video, and just let the kind of clash of cultures just kind of sell itself. And if you compare it like the other names, the other level of guy that Patty's going to like draw into, the Dobers of the world, the Frivolas of the world. Bobby Green was just on the fucking main card of the BMF card. I mean, he has a bigger name value, I think. So
it's a good point, and he's fought Makhachev. Like,
he's fought
like,
for sure.
You can't say it's a fight that he would be like for any reason like scared of. I don't think Bobby Green's scared of anyone.
No, no, not at all. But let's keep it pushing, man. Like,
Oh, this next fight
right.
deserves big shout out, man. We're talking about
Oh
heavyweights
yeah,
here. Derek Lewis. What was he? Plus 170?
plus 180 at close.
Plus 180 at close. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, minus 210.
Yep, minus 210. 15th ranked heavyweight. Both 38 years old. It's so weird how these guys kind of were viewed kind of differently. Both 38 years old. Also, Derek Lewis still ranked 10.
Hey, I just want to give a shout out to De Lima here in this fight. 100% strike accuracy, 2 for 2.
He landed?
I guess so.
When?
I think off of his back.
Had to be. Had to be. He was on his back very fast. Man, Derek Lewis, like on my bingo card, I did not have Derek Lewis doing his best George Masvidal impression.
Didn't have Derek Lewis having a six-pack on my any bingo card ever.
I know I did when I saw that at the weigh-ins and he had that picture with Helen Yee.
I was like, Derek Lewis might be serious about fighting.
It made because we had been kind of fading Derek Lewis. We didn't really have too much confidence in him. Neither did Vegas. We felt about how Vegas did. I think that's fair to say. Like we agreed with the money line.
Oh, my pick here was the under. I mean, I told you guys like this fight was a one-round fight. I would have bet under 1 round.
And but when I saw Derek Lewis with the abs, it made me kind of just like rethink my whole like logic train, because our whole logic train wasn't that Derek Lewis is bad at cage fighting. Our take was that like Derek Lewis doesn't give a fuck. He's 1 foot out the door. I mean, he's told us in his own words that he only does it for the money, like that type of thing. Like
yeah, like he just wants to like get paid, and like in his downtime, he just wants to like fuck around on Instagram, like chill with his family, smoke weed, and eat Popeyes. Like he literally says shit just like that. And it's like, yeah, man, like clearly you don't really care about like being the best fighter. Like it's just and it's good for him, prize fighter. He's a prize fighter. He's not a championship fighter. He's a prize fighter.
Yeah,
big difference.
No, fair enough. And he's a prize fighter that's like good enough to have fought for a championship.
Yeah, so that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah, and that's why he's a fan favorite. He's a knockout. He was tied for most knockouts in UFC history coming into this one. Gets the record because we can stop beating around the old bush, because this fight only lasts 33 seconds. You could argue this fight should have been over at like 12 seconds. Like, I'll be real, like late stoppage for sure. Like Rogerio de Lima. So take it away, my friend. Fucking describe
honestly,
it glorious.
Well, when you see it live, like you see Derek Lewis kind of walk up, take 2 steps, and then all of a sudden like jump into a switch or a switch flying knee, which is already a crazy thing for a heavyweight to be doing, especially when it looks like Derek Lewis. Granted, like we did say, has a 6-pack, clearly has like been working on actual explosive like mobility and like leaning out his body, which I'm sure helps. But yeah, in real time, you don't know that knee lands as clean as it does, like because it's almost like a 265-pound guy like jumping into you with his knee, even hitting your chest, is going to probably knock you down. So that's what I kind of assumed happened, right? Is it was just like the collapse of weight. And then Derek Lewis feeds him a couple hard ones on the ground, while De Lima's like throwing back like small hammer fists upwards, which I guess the two he connected throughout the whole fight. But once Derek Lewis landed, like there was one big shot whenever he was on top where De Lima tried to get the ankle lock, and as soon as he got like his hands down to try to roll on the leg, Derek Lewis fed him a fat hook, and De Lima was like, "Oh, this is not where I want to be," and rolled over. And you could have ended it right there, honestly. Like when he ate that fat hook on his back and tried to roll over, that was pretty much him saying, I'm done.
Well, Rogerio de Lima shelled up. I mean, it's crazy. This fight only lasted 33 seconds, and there was like 20 seconds of it where De Lima was like shelled up, just eating huge Derek Lewis shots. And I think the ref, like, all right, if these are flyweights in here, yeah, maybe that's not fight ending, but like, those Derek Lewis nukes, what did he land 30 of them? Like, it just was a lot.
17 significant strikes, and I mean, obviously, one of them is a knee to the face. So
yeah, getting knee in the face and then 16 Derek Lewis nukes. Like, yeah, they were kind of shelled up and blocked, but
no, like three of them hit like clean, and you could tell every time one of the ones that would hit clean landed, because it would like. De Lima eventually got in that shell and was just like trying to move his knees forward to just like keep. It was the saddest defense, man. It was, and I think Cormier was saying it too. He was like, like when heavyweights do that, they're just trying to limit the damage because like every shot hurts so bad that if they get hit clean, like it really just like wrecks their like life for another week every time they eat one of those. So he was like, he's just covered up
Oh yeah.
to like completely shell.
Yeah, I mean, this was a hot knife through butter performance-winning bonus for Derek Lewis.
Speaking
he
of
fucking
hot,
takes off his shorts. Yeah, the nuts were hot. He took off the shorts. He gave the people what they wanted. What did people want from Derek Lewis? They want a fucking brutal knockout. They want some reference to his groin and some reference to like food.
and him to be talking about
box.
slamming his wife and his kids making fun of him.
Yes, literally. Like he gave the people what he wanted. Afterwards, he was talking about how it was the last fight on his contract. 1,000% got himself another contract. I've been seeing the internet like rumors out there that like, oh, he should go fight Francis in PFL. Who wants to see that again? I mean, that was hot water. That fight sucked.
Yeah, but also, why would you even take that level of
twice.
danger? Like, what's the even point? Like, he can probably get paid out for the next, like, 3 or 4 more fights and not risk ever taking that much damage in the rest of his career.
I'll say, unless the UFC, like, somehow ends up feeding him to Pavlovich. Or did they already do that?
No, they fed him to Tuivasa and Gon and...
yeah.
Oh, yeah, they did feed him to Pavlovich. He got knocked out in 55 seconds by him.
Yeah. That's all. Like, wait a minute, that already happened. Yeah, so I don't know. You're like, I think he should stay in the UFC because he has UFC fans. Like, I don't know, like UFC fans love Derek Lewis. I don't think you could argue that necessarily MMA fans love Derek Lewis. Like, I don't think some like, elite fans of like actual martial arts will appreciate Derek Lewis's style.
I would also argue that he is a very great person to be the number 10 like gatekeeper for the division currently. Because here's what I mean is like the guys in front of him are Curtis Blades, who I know he's beaten, but I don't know that he would beat him again. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't count on that uppercut twice. I think Gon obviously beats Lewis. I think Miocic beats Lewis. Obviously Jones beats Lewis. Tuivasa's interesting. Volkov, he's beaten. That's still interesting. Spivak, he already just lost
he's fought like everybody. Hasn't he fought Rosenstruik too? Like, he's fought everybody really. Who hasn't he fought? Aspinall. Why would Aspinall fight that far back?
Romanov.
He hasn't fought Almeida. God, I hope they don't feed him to Almeida. I can see him doing that.
I think Romanov Lewis is super fun.
He's literally fought everybody.
Yeah, he's fought Dawkins, fought Rosenstruik.
He fought Dawkins.
Yeah.
He's fought. So that's the only argument that you can make about him maybe going to PFL. But he's already fought Francis. So, he's fought every heavyweight on earth.
That's why you just got to, keep him around for... If I'm the UFC, maybe I fight a two-fight deal, and I just try to get the last 2 guys he hasn't fought.
Yeah, true. It's crazy. He's fought literally almost the entire rank.
And honestly, if you're thinking about it in the long-standing terms of things to the UFC, in 2 years, where's a guy like Mick Parkin that we love? Are they getting Lewis's the last squeeze of his name value into someone like Parkin?
I think you want to squeeze Mick Parkin is what I think.
Yeah, I'm Mick Parkin it on him.
But we can keep it pushing, man, because you could argue the most intriguing fight of the matchup, or the most intriguing matchup of the card is up next.
Oh, 100%, especially at even odds, -110 either way. And that remained through the fight, too. As round 2 ended, still -110 either way, which shows you how crazy good of a fight this was.
And that just was my brain all week. My brain was like the old cartoons with the devil and the angel on your shoulder, except for it was Pereira was on one side being like, I'm one of the scariest humans walking. And then the other side was Blachowicz is like, yeah, but this motherfucker can't wrestle. He saw what I did to the last kickboxer. And it was just fucking cartoon chirping on my shoulder. -110 summed this up perfectly. Honestly, not once we get... Actually, no, this was a very close fight. We always like to slant it one way to whoever ends up getting their name
it's so
called.
Close. This fight is so close.
So this fight was a number of -110 even odds coin flip in my head. It played out like an even odds coin flip. I can say, was it maybe as entertaining as we all might have hoped it would have been? on the flip side, what do we get trade-off for that? We got answers. We got answers that we don't see if this fight's like a Gaethje Chandler banger. We got answers, which it came at the expense of our entertainment and some of our pay-per-view dollars. But I might argue, as a Pereira guy that had questions that I wanted answers, I think I might make that trade-off personally, especially because the rest of the card was so fire.
I think what we learned here is that Pereira is so fucking huge. Jesus Christ, he was bigger than Jan. How the fuck did he... How does he make 85? And he says that he could still go back to 85, which I call bullshit. But...
No, he can.
That's unbelievable.
I mean,
that's literally unreal.
Yeah. It sucks, and I don't want him to, but he can, because he's just that motherfucker.
So, yeah, in the first round, he actually was doing a good job at the start. Almost got the standing guillotine. Got Jan in a little bit of a weird spot when he was reaching too hard for that takedown.
Well, also, I think Pereira's 6'7", dude, because we have another like Kevin Durant situation. Like Kevin Durant will like be listed as 6'9", and then stand next to another 6'9" guy and be like 6 inches taller, and he's like really like 7'2". Like Pereira, I think Pereira's listed as 6'4", and Jan's listed as 6'3", and he's like 4 or 5 inches taller than him. Like Pereira might be 6'7", dog.
Let's see,
like seriously.
Pereira listed at 6'4", Jan listed at 6'2" and a half.
6'2" and a half. All right. Pereira's like 4 or 5 inches taller, bro.
Yeah, no, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, he actually looked like he was a full, like, forehead bigger. And he also looks like he's a little taller than Izzy. And a lot of people talk about how Izzy and John...
taller than Izzy.
People talk about how Izzy and John Jones see very eye to eye. And I know for a fact John Jones is, like, 6'4" and a half.
Yeah, no, Pereira is no shorter than 6'6". Like, I'm not saying 6'7", tongue-in-cheek. Like, you throw a fucking pair of rock bullshit shoes on him, and he's fucking 6'7". Like,
yeah, I'd love to see him next, like Johnny Walker, like a guy that we know is like 6'7" for real, and just like put him next to him, and be like, because I think when I see Pereira and Ryan Spann, like they're not that
Tyson
far off.
Fury, wasn't he not that? Like, wasn't there a picture of Tyson Fury? I'm pretty sure they were like almost the same size. And Tyson Fury's like 6'9".
That's so crazy.
That's so crazy.
But yeah, I mean, first,
like size was going to be an issue here with Pereira moving up weight classes. I never bought into that narrative. The only narrative I bought into was like I've seen Jan hold down and wrestle fucking kickboxer for 3 rounds, so that was like I said, the narrative's like little angels on my shoulder. Like it wasn't a size issue, it was just like a what. And in round 1, in all fairness, that's exactly what Jan did. Now you can debate the level of success that he had, but he got the takedown. Now, he had to work so hard for the takedown,
and to stay on the back.
Yes, and it impacted the rest of the fight. Like you could argue, a lot of people are arguing
he should have given it
shot
up.
His load.
Yeah,
yeah, he like gassed himself essentially. He won the first round. I don't think anybody's scorecard on planet Earth gave round 1 to Pereira. But at the same time, Pereira answered all our questions. Like, oh, what would happen if he gets taken down by Jan? The answer was not that much. I mean, granted, I got nervous when Jan was on the back throwing in those rear nakeds, and like some of them got like decently close, like maybe like 6 out of 10 close, like if a 10's a finish. But like Pereira's, like we talked about, that rear naked choke defense in MMA is like leveling up. Like I don't know, like it's becoming a less effective technique. Like the rear naked choke defense has like risen across the board in the UFC. Where like, I mean, you still see him. But like Chael always makes a point that like when a guy gets rear naked choke, he's like finding a way out of there. Yeah. And this is kind of proving that right, because like the defense is fairly simple. I mean, it's so simple that a non-grappler can learn it against a world champion.
Yeah, fair point. And I think too it shows that Pereira is kind of taking a page out of Izzy's book, which is like, I don't need to be the offensive grappler. I just need to have really good defensive grappling techniques. Which it seems like that's what he has. I mean, even off that first takedown, Jan had to work his ass off for 2 minutes and almost get choked out to get it. And then whenever he still dumped him, Pereira, and he'll get this eventually, but if he had actually been able to keep running his so when he got taken down, his left leg got pinned, right? Well, if he can keep pushing with that right leg as he had Jan, like moving forward, he had enough back pressure to actually almost reverse that takedown. And, like, had he been a more well-versed wrestler, he would have felt that and probably came out the back and over the top. And Jan would have been, like, in a terrible spot then. But, yeah, I mean, Pereira's getting better. and Jan was having to work so hard for it that by the end of the round, Pereira survives 3 minutes with Jan on his back. And like I oftentimes say, if that's the place where you're supposed to win the fight and you have 3 minutes there and you don't, it's really good for the guy that survived for 3 minutes because they just realized,
oh yeah,
that's not my problem anymore.
That's what was so weird about round one. You 1,000% give it to Jan, but you 1,000% come out feeling fantastic about Pereira's chances in this matchup.
Yeah, 100%. Where you're like, oh, well, if Pereira, like, if Jan starts losing any gas and Pereira defends these takedowns and keeps on the feet, because you had seen Pereira.
We know what happens then.
You'd seen Pereira throw a couple short lefts in that were starting to land, and the low kicks. I mean, Jan's leg was
all destroyed. Like 90 seconds into the fight, it looked like a fucking
he had
pillow.
like an egg.
I thought the fucking My Pillow guy was gonna pop up on screen
Mike
and start trying to sell me some shit, trying to get my credit card number. But you know, I'll say this. Now, rounds 2 and 3 were very close, but they were close in a way that, like, I feel confident in my winner. Like, they were competitive. Each guy had some success, but I think they were close, but not necessarily murky. Is that fair to say? I don't know. We'll see if they scored the same.
I think 3 can definitely be seen as more murky than 2. I think 2 is a pretty. Now, I would also like to say, watch this with a group of people around me, and we all seem to score this fight the same way. Like, only one person scored against the actual winner. So, seems like the right decision is what comes here in this split from the general public consensus.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a cool little focus group you had there. Because Jan does get another takedown, and he's actually doing pretty solid on his feet at the start of the round. Like, he's landed some shots on Pereira.
Pereira
does, like, leave himself to get hit. That's
I know,
thing.
it's crazy.
He's just such a motherfucker that, like,
dude, like,
kind of doesn't matter.
Him and Yuri is my dream matchup. Like, and if he wins this fight, that is who he would get, right?
Yeah, it has to. Now, yeah, but that being said, I mean, Pereira, I thought he won the damage battle. He was able to get back to his feet, like, way quicker. I mean, like, the takedown wasn't that impactful. And then
he had Jan hurt at the end of the round.
And he was destroying that calf. He was landing his classic. That's the thing, like, when Pereira fights, like, one certain way. Like, he, like, fights, like, you can close your eyes and just, like, picture his movement and his, like, hand, like, technique. Like, I don't know.
The hands, like, down here, like, under his nipples, and then just, like, and then, like, he raises him and then hooks, and you're like, God damn, it's such a weird style.
He's the classic example of he doesn't really fight long. He's like 6'6", 6'7", but he throws hooks. Like, he throws
it's almost like he's so long. Hooks. It's almost like he's so long that he can use the hook and still be at, like, just the edge of your jab range.
Literally, it's crazy. You're right. That's exactly what it is. But yeah, so I assume we both gave round 2 to Pereira. It sounds like
every judge did as well.
Yeah, so it was close, but like you said, had a clear winner. Now round 3, see, I pushed back here because it was murky for like 0.2 seconds in my head. Because once again, Jan Blachowicz gets a takedown, and once again, Pereira
does nothing with the takedown.
So that's why I make the argument that everybody says, like, oh, round 3 is murkier than round 2. It's almost the exact same round as round 2. Like, you could argue.
It's only murky for the sense that Jan does land some good shots in the start, and Pereira doesn't land as many hooks in round 3. He lands a lot more jabs, but he also lands a lot more low kicks. And knowing how, like, the low kick was literally swelling more and more, and it was getting bigger in round 3 because Jan was just eating him like a savage. Credit to Jan, but also, like, discredit to Jan. Don't do that.
Yeah,
so
especially against Pereira. I don't know, bro. Pereira won the round, man. He won the damage. Yeah,
I thought the damage was his. I thought the damage was his, like, very clearly. I thought the leg and the few headshots he was able to land, like, clearly I thought he did more damage.
God, has Jan been training with Aljamain Sterling, just getting takedowns and just doing no damage?
He's been training at the I'm 40 club, where you're 40 years old.
He's been watching too many women's bantamweight fights. I swear, he was just fucking taking them down and just doing doing fuck all with it. Like
a lot of Dillashaw moves in him, you know.
Yeah, all the fighters we can't stand. But yeah, no, bro. I don't know. It's like after I watched that round, I asked myself for like 0.2 seconds in my head. I was like, did Blachowicz win that with a takedown? And I literally said to myself, I was like, no, he fucking didn't. Like, no, like, you can't fucking, like, that's some lawyer ball bullshit. Like, Pereira beat his ass. Like, and so I don't know. I was very bullish with my Pereira one take. Now, Chael, a few other people on Twitter were like trying to like cast this narrative that Jan Blachowicz was losing the rounds because the judges were factoring in fatigue and Jan Blachowicz looked tired. Now, I'll say, I mean, eye test has always been a factor in scoring rounds. So to say that that's like unfair or like Chael went out of his way to like, Chael loves following rules. I don't know why he made this argument. Jesus, the guy that breaks more rules than anybody. But like, he was saying like, oh, there's no judges rule criteria to score fatigue level. That's like that shouldn't have been. But like, eye test has been a factor in scoring fights since the fucking 1800s. Like to say like fatigue doesn't factor in the eye test, what factors in the score? Like to me, that's totally in bounds.
No, I agree with you entirely. I don't know how it doesn't. In fact,
Yeah, but people were up in arms on Twitter. Not that many, but there was like a segment of like MMA fans out there that were like, "Oh, Jan got robbed because the judges were scoring him being tired." It's like, well, he got tired because he was lifting takedowns and getting his calf destroyed.
Right, like he used bad techniques. Like, okay, then he should like get scored against. Like that should be held against him that he was exhausted because he was unsuccessful in his attempts to like win the fight.
And guess what? Exhaustion manifests things, right? So even if you don't believe exhaustion should be scored, it's going to factor in an output and bag takedown attempts, and like it manifests like in other ways that are like by definition are scored. So it's I don't know.
It all starts with cardio, right? Like if you don't have the energy to do it, you can't do anything.
No, for sure, bro. So I mean, this does end up being a split decision. I'm assuming one of those judges gave Blachowicz round 3, which is like he got a takedown with like 30 seconds of like Fuguay's control, and got beat up the other like 4 minutes of the round. I mean,
yeah, Junichiro Kamijo, which is a pretty sussy judge. Kamijo loves grappling. I'll actually say that. Like, there is consistency in the sense that Kamijo always scores for the grappler.
But like in round 1, Blachowicz took the back and had some sub attempts. Like, okay, you can like that. Like that's how you win a round with a takedown. He didn't do that in 3. He got beat up. So yeah, we both saw it lockstep. The right man won. Now I'm going to make an argument here, like a very bullish take that I don't see that many people making. This should have been for the belt. It would have made the pay-per-view cooler. We had this debate at the end of our last podcast. You were saying that like they would have had to move it to the main event, and maybe
once again they can't headline it. It's not going to make any sense.
But like that should have been for the belt. And the reason why I say that is because no timetable's been given on Yuri. If they would just give Yuri a date, even if they leave the B-side fucking open-ended, like throw that, you know what I mean? Like throw that unlockable character question mark across from it. Like just like I don't know, bro. Because the thing is, all right, this isn't for the belt, so what is? And I guess the obvious answer, or the answer we're both hoping, is that it's Prohaska versus Pereira gets the split decision win here.
I think but also,
when is that? Is that like 6 months from now? I mean, do they turn around Pereira in 3 months again? They just did that. I don't know.
Pereira didn't take much damage, but you got to think about this, man. Like Pereira got.
You're right, he didn't.
Pereira got KO'd in his last fight, like bad. Like whenever he woke up, he still was like, "Where the fuck am I?" Right? Like that was a bad knockout. That was only 3 months ago, right? So like,
yeah,
bro, he probably couldn't even train for a month. So to ask him to do 5 rounds on an 8-week camp against a guy like Jan, that's just really out of the question, I think.
But they just did it. Or even
5 rounds. No, I'm saying there was no way you were going to get Pereira to be able to fight 5 rounds on 8 weeks of camp after getting brutally KO'd.
I disagree with that. I think if you say it's for the belt, he's down. Like, I really do. I don't think Pereira's turning down the title shot. I don't
It's
don't
such a Fuguay's belt, though.
But how is it Fuguay's when the belt's vacant?
Because Jan's last fight was against... It ended in a draw against Ankalaev.
It was for the belt.
And he went to a draw.
Because of an eye poke. He won 2 rounds.
He won 2 rounds. The fight sucked. Jan's 40.
But I'm saying, none of this has anything to do with Pereira, the man that won, the man who should have the belt around his waist. Because guess what? The belt's around nobody's waist. Or how is that not? All right, meet halfway at interim belt. Like, how is this just? It's nothing. The belt's vacant, and these 2 world-class former champions are fighting, and it's not for a belt. Like, what?
Why can't the belt just go back to Yuri? Like, he gave it up, and like now it's no one's. Like, it should just go back to him.
You just answered your own question because he gave it up. Like it's not his. Like he gave it up.
Yeah, like
If I
and so did
fucking
Jamal Hill. So like it just goes back to Yuri now, right? Like that's how that works.
no, it's not how it works. If I give you $100 and then like 3 months from now you haven't spent it, I can't be like, well, like, can I just get that back? Like, dude, you gave that to me. Like that's mine.
Well, but it's
Like,
like if you gave me $100 and then I go to jail and you're like, well, can I get that $100 back? You can't really use that, and I'm like,
you'd be like, no, dog, I need my ramen noodles. I need the 100 more than ever. But like, no, bro, like Yuri gave up the belt. Jamal gave up the belt. Like the belt, Yuri gave up the belt so long ago that somebody else was able to give it up as well. Like, like I get it. You're a fucking Prohaska nut
yeah,
hugger.
yeah, yeah. That's what this
I'm a
is.
Jamal Hill nut hugger. So like that's where this is. Like Jamal, because honestly, I just
Also,
disagree with
Jamal
that
Hill's
point,
tweets were cringy, talking about one true king and shit. Like, bro, you didn't actually win it off of the champ, so you can't ever say that.
fair point. Even as a Jamal nut hugger, I'll say that. That's a fair point. I thought it was kind of now. I also say like when you're depressed and you just lost your championship belt and your Achilles tendon, like those are the things that like you got to kind of tell yourself. He's probably having a drink, watching the fights, like the rest of us were. Like that's probably
Right.
like what you have to tell yourself to like keep you from fucking putting a fucking 45 in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like seriously. Like so. I don't know. I kind of get it. A lot less cringe than McGregor's tweets that come after this next fight, which we can get to if you want. But I don't know. We've had this. We're obviously not
Oh, I
going to
haven't
agree
even
on this.
seen
That should have been
McGregor's
for a
tweets.
belt.
I gotta look these up.
He's well. He's once again trying to not fight Chandler and trying to fight the winner of the BMF for the BMF.
Oh
Like
my god,
like
dude.
predictable. I literally knew that was going to happen. Like I'm not even being hindsight 2020. I was like, oh, Connor's 1,000% going to be tweeting during this. Like for sure. For sure. Like, I knew it. Like, not shocked at all. You go on Twitter right now, you're checking them out live in the flesh.
The true BMF. Oh my god, dude. I KO him
And
one
just saying
shot,
shit.
guarantee
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
Up the
It's
dubs.
like literally, it's like Connor's Twitter is like one of those, like a Woody doll where you pull the fucking
Yeah,
string
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
five
says
things.
one-liners, just repetitive one-liners.
Yeah. Like you already know.
I'll
You
pin
already
ya.
know.
I'll pin
Yeah,
ya.
I'll pin you. You might as well have said that. Like, you'll fucking do what you're told. Fucking, let's pull the fucking Conor McGregor Woody string. Like, you already knew. Seriously.
Dude, that'd be the best little toy action figure. You could just literally pull the string and it's a different Conor McGregor saying.
Oh, it'd be the best. But,
So I think
so
to
we'll keep
wrap
it pushing.
to wrap up 205, it's clearly Prohaska Pereira for the belt.
Has to be.
Right.
Has to be.
And that can happen soon because Yuri's back in the rankings now. He's back in USADA's testing pool, which means he's back to actively training.
Yeah, and like, and then you do what? Did Uncle Live already fight Rakic?
No.
I forget. So you got to do that. You do
Yeah.
Uncle Live Rakic.
And also, Uncle
Yeah.
Live, like, take a fucking hike, man. Like, you're bad at this division right now. Like, you know, the matchups
But
are
see,
so much fun. Like, take a fucking
But you
hike.
forget how much I hate Rakic. Like Rakic is snoozy too. That's why you just let them have a snooze fest on the fucking Apex card. And
Yeah, but at least
just
Rakic's
kinda-
going to try and strike.
yeah, I don't know. I don't like either one of those fighters. Like I would rather have Yuri, any of the three, Jamal, Yuri, or Jan over Rakic or Uncle Live personally. Hell, I might go Lionheart, but we all know that ain't happening. But yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
let's
all
keep
right.
it
Well,
pushing
yeah,
to
let's
the
keep
main
it pushing to the real lion-hearted man, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje. No offense to Anthony
best.
Smith, because I have seen him take ass beatings where like Lionheart was an earned nickname. But yeah, these two guys fighting for the BMF title. As we talked about at the intro of this episode, we really did a great job of debuting. I think why it's these two and what it means to be either one of these guys in this situation.
Yeah, the belt makes them in. The only people, these guys both haven't lost to anybody not named each other, Habib or Charlie Olives, in what, like 12 years or whatever it is. So I mean,
Something crazy, yeah, in like the last
yeah,
7
yeah.
years.
I think they have like every single one of their fights has gotten a bonus or damn near.
And Gaethje, every
Just-
fight he's had in the UFC he's had a bonus, which I don't think
Gaethje won.
he got a bonus again.
like-
Did he not?
No. Yes, he did.
I mean,
Yes,
of course he did.
And
Of
then,
course he did.
won a round against Khabib. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, the men make the belt. If you want, if this is clipped up, go watch the full episode because at the start of it, we dive real into like our kind of philosophical views of BMF and what it means, and that these are the two right guys for the job and all that. But yeah, Dustin Poirier minus 150, number 2 ranked lightweight, taking on Justin Gaethje plus 130, 3 ranked lightweight. I agreed with the money line. I personally bet Poirier by decision, which I was value hunting. I was trying to turn a little into a lot. My pockets. I was itching. I was trying to. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes type of energy, and I didn't necessarily think Poirier would win by decision, but it was plus 340 on the straight, and I thought Poirier would win, and I thought Poirier had better cardio, and I thought Poirier had cleaner technical boxing. So
cardio. I think you gotta weight chins here, because these guys both strike so fucking hard, and they both are willing to eat shots. So it's cardio, 25 minutes. I don't care if they can still breathe. Are they still awake?
Yeah, no, and literally talking about regrets with a Z. I fucking the minute this fight started, I was like, shouldn't have been a decision. That was dumb.
Yeah, the fight to not go the distance was minus 260.
I was value hunting. I
I don't know if that's even value hunting at that point. That's just kind of feeding money to the casino.
Hey, I like supporting my community here in Reno, seeing big news.
The real value hunt here is Gaethje at plus 130, because this fight's like a coin flip of a fight.
I'll be real. Call me a hater. I didn't feel that way, and I thought. And it was just a gut feeling thing. I thought not that Poirier hasn't been in wars. I think the past couple of fights, Poirier was in a war with Chandler just now. Oh, no. I just thought that the Gaethje damage was going to come calling. I thought that, and Gaethje, the main thing was Gaethje had kind of beat around the bush, kind of talking about retirement a couple times in the past, 6 months. And
that's fair. The mental of Justin Gaethje was kind of in question. Now, in all of his interviews, he was saying that he had understood his mistakes from the first fight and wasn't going to repeat those, and had a different style. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Maybe it is slightly, and maybe that slight change was exactly what he needed. But overall, I still think he fights very similar to how he used to fight.
Yeah, Gaethje fights one way. But yeah, let's get to it, man. Round 1, super fucking close. I thought, at least. I thought there was an argument for each man. I think verdict at least, and I don't know if it's still at this number now, but live, as soon as the round ended, I checked the global verdict scorecard. It was 9.52 to Dustin, 9.48 to Gaethje. It was the closest verdict split I have ever seen with my own eyes.
That's pretty wild. 2 judges do go to Poirier, and 1 judge does go to Gaethje.
You have to. If you gave that round to Gaethje, you are not a crazy person at all. I thought Gaethje,
I did. Yeah. I actually did give it to him. I thought he was defending the head kicks from Poirier so well.
Well, and he was timing the counters.
Right.
He definitely was landing the bigger shot. I thought Poirier, you could argue, was kind of leading the dance. He did cut Gaethje, so the caveman scoring
the
damage.
cut I did take into it was a real coin flip after I saw the cut, because honestly, Gaethje was landing the bigger shots for most of the round, which I thought Poirier was doing. He was doing the shorts hike thing after he'd get hit really hard, but he did it too many times where it was hey man, stop doing that. Every time you do that, I know you just got hit really hard.
That's the most that's the truest MMA meme ever. The Poirier, either the hair fix or the pants adjust. He's literally it's like an emote. His video game character just does it. It's funny. I thought Poirier having Gaethje on the back foot most of the time was like a visually, in a razor thin round like this. I thought it carried some weight. Gaethje blinking out that eye, and it was 1,000% from a punch, not an eye poke.
100%.
That was kind of another bad visual. Tit for tat, you could argue. See, you could argue Gaethje, those counters he was hitting Poirier with, but he was able to hit the counters because Poirier was throwing first and had Gaethje on the back foot. It's a razor close round. So, I actually think we paint a good picture of the fact that we each gave each man a round. Yeah, for sure. But round 2 only lasts a minute, and nobody saw this coming.
Even live, the setup is subtle as hell. They talked about the setup, and what's crazy is you had a tweet that might have been the most mystic DMAC tweet of the night, which was SLCs for head kicks.
No, it was after. I can't take the credit. I wish I
Oh,
could.
I thought it
I wish
timed
that
out
was
that it
me.
was right
No,
before.
be a lot fucking cooler if it was. I fully admit that. No, it was a reaction tweet. It was actually I'll even go as far as to say it's corny and obvious. But yeah,
Oh
like it.
man, because when they show it, it's the exact same head kick that Leon Edwards lands,
Yeah,
just orthodox
exact.
versus southpaw. But literally throw
Well,
the punch, and the kick is coming behind the punch.
yeah, like I was able to recognize that live. I didn't need old DC slow mo side by side of
Yeah,
just going
yeah.
over. Like it was obvious. I mean, it was the exact same thing. And it was every bit as shocking, and it was every bit as dope. It was every bit as highlight worthy. No, you could argue Leon's was better because
Usman
it was
dodges
over the.
into Leon's, whereas Poirier at least recognizes enough to like get the hand here, so that like the foot is catching his whole head and not the shin right on
When
his.
it wrapped around the back, and like
Right.
he like blocked the ankle, but the fucking foot was still there. Bro, I was so shocked. I mean,
Me
because the
too.
fight was so close, it wasn't like
It was a
Poirier was
war.
fading. Like, yeah, it wasn't like Poirier was fading or like he just threw the right combo at the right
And
time. But that's not to
it
say it was fluky because he
and
set it up like
right, it
it
wasn't like
wasn't
a hail.
fluky.
It wasn't like a hail mary. Like he had to have it at that moment. It was almost like a like you just said, a really well set up shot.
Because like I don't consider Leon's fluky either. So like I'm not gonna flip the script here and say that Gage's was fluky, but no, fantastic, dude. I mean, it was a highlight. I mean, it was probably knockout of the year, if we're being honest. I mean, as recency bias, sure. I mean, it's always a factor. I'm struggling to think of because if you're factoring in just like highlight worthy, like what's at stake, level of opponent,
Oh well,
like if
Izzy avenging getting his belt back.
I'll put this over that,
Ooh,
just
that,
because Izzy's was
ooh.
like a simple as the left hook, like a like it wasn't that like dope. I mean, the meeting was dope, and like the implications were dope, and like the revenge, like yeah, but like
The
the
sequence is
text.
sick though because he hits him once and he has him completely stunned with the right hook, and then immediately right hooks him again and just, I mean, puts him into the shadow realm.
I'll say level of difficulties gauges was harder.
I mean, to land a double right hook on a kickboxing champion, that's pretty hard.
Yeah, I think doing the Leon Edwards head kick is harder personally. Like I don't know, like maybe
Yeah, I
like
mean, yeah, it's got to be up there, right? It's got to be up there.
yeah,
If it's not, like, it's those two. It has to be those two so far.
for sure, man. And yeah, I mean Justin Gagey gets the BMF belt, which very fitting because like I'll be real, like Poirier is a BMF, no doubt. But like when I think of the word BMF in my head, I think more of like a
Well,
Gage, like a.
Gaethje, I think, has still the title of most violent man on the planet, in my opinion. Which, like, if that's not
I'm
the baddest motherfucker, then who is?
well, I'm so that's a fucking tagline I've been wanting to get in this whole episode. I'm so glad you brought that up because like Gagey was most violent before the term BMF even was in the lexicon. So like he was BMF before BMF was even a thing. Like before there was he was the original, but not the original because you could all fucking all these old school guys that fought in shoes. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough, fair enough. Those guys weren't bad motherfuckers. But what I'm saying, like when Gagey had a reputation as being most violent, like what does that mean exactly? Like you just said, like I'm echoing your statement that like most violent, i.e., baddest motherfucker.
Yeah,
Like
like the dude's down to take the most damage to give the most damage. Like, that sounds like a pretty bad dude to me.
especially the Chandler Gagey fight fresh in our memories. 2022 fight of the year or was that 2021 fight of the year? I forget. But
And Fazeev Gaethje.
I mean every Gagey fight
Yeah, every
pretty
Gaethje
much
fight. Like, what am I
ever.
saying?
Like
Yeah.
Gagey, I mean what
Gaethje Charlie
Gagey fight?
Olives. Gaethje fucking
Yeah, people
Islam.
forget how good that fight was
He
because
was
he lost.
Yeah, like I
He
thought he was
starched
beat. Yeah,
Charlie.
yeah, exactly. He dropped Charlie Olives and then somehow ended up losing.
Yeah, no man,
He won a
for
round
sure.
against Habib.
And I'll say with Gagey adding head kicks to it because he's not known as a head kicker. Him
Right.
adding this into the like his skills. Like I'm not saying he's obviously an underdog against Islam, but like I'm way more intrigued by that fight now because I think wasn't Volk able to land some head kicks on Islam? So like a
Mm-hmm.
little bit bigger of a guy landing that same head kick. Like I think Gagey Islam is a lot closer now. And that money line shrunk a lot with this performance.
I think what's really, really, really on the table is that now Gaethje fights the winner of Islam Charlie Olives, and I think
Yeah.
both. I think in that case, both belts are on the line.
See,
If
I don't.
it's Islam, it for sure is. Now Islam doesn't even give a
No,
shit about it. He doesn't want
no,
it.
if it's Islam, it's for sure not because
Well, the
he's
UFC
like,
wants it because Islam wants to go fight for 170. So if they could combine it and then get him to go fight Leon, and they could pass all of the belts.
no, bro, because I'll be real. Like, there's no way like a strict Muslim's gonna have a belt with the word motherfucker. Like
Oh yeah,
they'll be
that's
on
a
that shit.
great point. Great
They'll
point.
be on that.
Great point.
But
Now how does Gaethje
Charlie
not?
Owens will wrap that shit and dye it blonde. He'll turn like he'll dye his hair the same color as the BMF belt. Like if Charlie can get this upset, then for sure. But
Okay,
there's no way
that's a
Islam's
great
bad
point. I
motherfucker.
never thought about that. It's a great point. So my question is, how does Gaethje fight anymore after this and not put that belt on the line? Like that's what I never understood about it. Is like,
No,
why is it not
because
get put up?
first off, if my phone dies, that's what happened. I like just heads up. I'm running on fumes here, but just let's keep going until it dies. The feed's on your end anyway, so I don't think it'll fuck anything up.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I think it's because the precedent's already been set. Like it's a belt you don't have to defend. We talked about this at the start of the show. Like that belt doesn't have a lineage. Like it's unique, and like that's why some people don't like it. But that's what makes it different.
So it's just
I
a
don't think he
pop-up
has to
shop of
defend it.
belts.
I guess, yeah, sure, but like, I choose to not view that in a negative light. Like it's different. It's not an undisputed belt. It's not an interim belt. Like it's something else. It's a one of one. It hasn't been. It's never. I'll put it this way, Harrison. That belt has never been defended, ever.
I know it. That's what's so weird
Factual
about
statement.
it. That's what's so weird
So
about
like,
it.
why start now? Like,
Okay, let me ask you this: what's next for Poirier? Poirier Dariush? Kind of makes
and
sense.
it has to be. Well, and Poirier painted himself into a corner here, and it's one of those "be careful what you wish for" statements. Because Poirier came out and said, "I'm not fighting any prospects. Like I'm not at that point in my career. I refuse. I will not fight an up and comer." Which who defines up and comer? Like is Gamrot up and comer? Like Gamrot and
Is
Fiziev are
Saruki
fighting,
an up and comer?
like I think Poirier would say yes. I think
I agree,
all
but
of
I
us.
think Sarukian's fought Islam already and did better against him than you did, Dustin Poirier. So what the fuck you got to say to that?
Well, hear me out here. I think it's a be careful what you wish for statement. Like, all right, Dariush is no longer an up and comer. Fight him. Like, I think he's better off fighting an up and comer. I think Poirier, he could definitely beat Armand. I think he could definitely beat Gamrot. I think he could like beat a lot of these up and comers. Beat Jalen Turner. Like beat like I think he like the classic DJ Khaled "you played yourself" meme. I think exactly what he needs right now is an up and comer. Like that's exactly what the doctor ordered. Because Poirier's still world class, and we don't know what these up and comers are.
All
I
right,
think
well,
he played
I
himself.
think
I think
Dariush
he
next
drew
like
himself
makes
into
all the
Dariush.
sense on earth, and that sucks
Be
because that's
careful
a
what
fight.
you wish
Yeah.
for.
Oh god, that
Be
fight
careful,
sucks for him.
I'll probably bet Dariush, right? Dariush
Now,
probably what a minus 150.
let me ask you this: what do you think about Volkanovski coming up and fighting Gaethje for the BMF title?
I'll say if that's what Volk wants, I'm down.
That'd be
I
cool,
respect
right?
Volk that much.
Yeah.
If it's something Volk thinks is a good idea, I don't like disagree. And there's a lot of like sense being made there. So or what what I have a sneaking suspicion may happen, right? So Gaethje either retires and then they can go in whatever direction. Maybe they do a fucking middleweight BMF or whatever. They kind of follow the precedent they set with Masvidal retiring. Or say Gaethje loses to either Islam or Charlie Olives for like it'd be the first time to Islam, twice to Charlie Olives. Doesn't really matter at that point. He's never getting another title shot. They use the BMF as like one last kind of cash grab, wring all the fucking possible, profit out of the Gaethje name, out of the BMF, like, and give him one last fight. Because you know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
And maybe by then, Fiziev and Gamrot have a fight of the year, but they wouldn't do the rematch with Fiziev. I'm just maybe by then somebody else has emerged as like a better BMF kind of challenger, or maybe if it's Gaethje's last fight and he knows it's kind of like a cash grab, maybe he doesn't want to cut the weight. He's 5'11". He's not a small. Maybe they do a cross weight class type situation with somebody at welterweight. I don't know. I think one of those two are the scenario. Either they just wait till Gaethje retires and then they do some other weight class just like they've been doing, or if Gaethje does lose undisputed, they kind of like wring out the towel with one last BMF title defense or something like that.
I could see that.
But,
I could definitely see that. But yeah, I mean, I know your phone didn't die yet, but that pretty much wraps it up, man. And for me, it's late. I got to get to bed before work tomorrow, so I'm going to go ahead and call it. But we will see you guys tomorrow for part 2, prelims breakdown.
Yeah, break down the prelims, the early prelims. Like and subscribe, support the channel, interact with us in the comments. You like our takes, disagree with the take, let us know.